Greetings, everybody. Welcome to your video series on an introduction to sociology. The topic for this video, Robert Merton's strain theory. Let's get started. So what is the strain theory? Robert Merton was a famous sociologist who developed a theory to help us better understand deviant behavior, more specifically criminal behavior. He was trying to figure out what drives a person to commit a crime in the first place. So Merton's theory basically says that society has certain goals that people are expected to achieve. In the United States, those goals might be under the umbrella of the American dream. The American dream being getting a good education, going out, finding a good job, making a lot of money, buying a house, being able to send your kids to college, take a vacation, retire comfortably. Those are the goals here in this society based on the American dream. Merton further says that achieving these goals, however, depends on a person's access to resources. In other words, if people are going to achieve the goals that society has set out for them, they need to be able to achieve those goals in some legitimate form or another. They need to have access to the resources that they need to achieve the goal. They need to have access to a good education, for example. They need to have access to a good job. They need to be able to invest their money appropriately if we're talking about, again, the American dream. Lastly, Merton says denial of access to these resources can lead to deviant behaviors in order to achieve the goals. What does that mean? If people don't have access to the resources they need to achieve those goals, then they will engage in some kind of deviant behavior to achieve the goal anyway, since there is so much pressure in society to achieve specific goals. This theory ties in nicely to our class theme 2, opportunity and motivation, which if you remember from the beginning of the video series, opportunity is, do people have the opportunity to achieve goals? And do people lack the motivation to achieve those goals? So people both have to have the opportunity to achieve a goal, and they also have to have the motivation to achieve the goal. I don't know where we went wrong with you, son. I'm over here, Dad. What do kids need from their parents? Attention, love, caring. And what happens when they don't get what they need from their parents? Any of you have kids know exactly where we're going here. If you remember being a kid, you probably know where we're going. When kids don't get what they need from their parents emotionally, they will act out in other ways to get that need met. This really is the strain theory. The goal for kids is to get the attention they need, the sense of love that they need, the caring that they need. And when they don't get that in the traditional sense of being good kids, then they go and act out as a way to try to get that same goal or that same need met. That's really what Robert Merton is suggesting here with the strain theory. He's got several ways that he categorizes people as they navigate this strain theory. Remember, the theory is all about goals and means. What are the goals that a society has established, and what are the means by which people are supposed to achieve those goals? He says if you are a conformist, you do support the goals of your society, and you support the means by which you are supposed to achieve those goals. So here in the United States, if you are a conformist, you support the American dream, getting a good education, getting a good job, making a decent living, buying a nice home, sending your kids to college, etc., etc. And you support the means by which you are supposed to do that. Go to school, study hard, get good grades, get out there, get a good job, work hard, play by the rules. All of that, if you're in support of, you are a conformist. However, there are also people that Merton considers to be innovators. Innovators also support the goal. They believe in the American dream in this case, but they do not support the means by which they are supposed to achieve the American dream. An innovator finds their own way to success. These are our entrepreneurs. These are the social media influencers. These are the YouTubers. These are people who create and invent new products. And these are also people who engage in criminal behavior. What is criminal behavior? Ways to make money without doing it the way you're supposed to do it. Merton says there are also ritualists. Ritualists do not support the goals. They really don't care about the American dream in this case, but they are willing to do what they're supposed to do anyway. They're sort of going through the motions. We have students who are ritualists, for example. They show up to every class, they take notes, they read their textbook, they memorize all the terms and concepts, and they get good grades on their exams, but their heart just isn't in it. They'd really rather be a juggler in the circus somewhere. But mom and dad or whoever is their caregiver is forcing them into to get an education. Then Merton says we also have retreatists. Retreatists do not support the goal, do not care about the American dream, and they do not support the means by which to do it. They have retreated from society. They're out in the woods, living off the grid, doing their own thing. And then lastly, he says it's possible to be a rebel. Like the retreatist, the rebel does not support the goals, does not support the means, but unlike the retreatist who has left society, the rebel is here fighting to change the goals and means for the rest of us. So as you look through this list here, you can probably see where you fit in. And not everybody is 100% one or the other their entire life. Many of us move around this chart. Sometimes we are conformists. Sometimes we become innovators. Maybe we retreat from time to time, or we take on the rebel yell to try to fight for change on a particular issue. But all of this ties into his strain theory about goals and means. How do people go about trying to meet the goals of their society, and what kinds of access and means are they using to try to support those goals if they're a conformist or an innovator? And if they don't support the goals, what does that mean, and how are those folks behaving? Who are these three men? Well, if you said Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and Nelson Mandela, you are correct. What do these three men have to do with a video on deviance? Well, you'll see that all of these men are highly regarded in the world as people who, what? Brought about change. These are examples of what Merton would call rebels. They challenged the goals of their societies in their own ways, and they challenged the means of their society as well. And the reason that I'm bringing these three men up here is as a reminder that not all deviant behavior is bad. In fact, from a sociological perspective, we need deviant behavior from time to time in order to bring about positive change in our society and in the goals and means by which we operate. So as a quick review, those who have dropped out and retreated into the woods, living off the grid, what would Robert Merton call them? Retreatists. People who do not achieve the American dream by the means that we would expect. If you know anything about the founder of Wendy's, Dave Thomas, he was a high school dropout, adopted at a young age, and then went on to found one of the biggest fast food franchises in the world, Wendy's. He is or was an innovator. Folks who are fighting to change the goals and means for everybody else, rebel. Those who are willing to play by the rules, support the goals and means, conformist. And those of us who are just going through the motions, the ritualist. That's going to do it for now. Thanks for checking in. Never stop learning, and remember, sociology is everywhere.